Welcome to Kalu Plays COD, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the issues with the maps in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So this is quite controversial because I don't think that the maps are actually that bad in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I quite enjoyed them. However, there is a bit of an outcry from the community that one of the main issues with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was the size and the way that the maps in the game played. But the main issue that they had is that a lot of the maps felt very similar. So I'm going to talk about my opinion on this and why I think that the community had such an issue with these maps. I know it's been talked about by a lot of YouTubers, but I thought I'd put my input in it because I can see why this could be an issue in the future if Call of Duty continued to go down this pattern. Like I said, I don't think that the issue is that big. However, this is something that they continue to fix upon, if this is something that they continue to build upon, if they keep making the maps smaller and smaller and smaller, if they keep making the maps too similar each game, then Call of Duty will have a real issue. And I'd like to put my voice in to see if we can stop that from happening and what they need to do to improve them. So, there are two issues with the maps in Black Ops 6 and why they don't work and why people struggle with them. The first is that all the maps are quite small. They're quite similar to the size of Nuketown. They're not exactly the same. A lot of people say they're copy and paste. I don't think that's true, but they definitely have similar sizing. And the second is that there is the Omni movement in the game, and that increases the speed that you can navigate around the map. So let's talk about the maps at first. So, for example, in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the main four maps that I think highlight the issue that everyone has is Subsonic, Rewind, Nuketown and Skyline. So I think that aesthetically all these maps are fantastic, they're perfect, especially Skyline. I love the sun and the glass and the fact there's a hotel with the pool. I also love the map like Subsonic, which is completely different to where it's in this war-torn airport. However, sizing wise and the way you navigate around the map isn't too different. For example, in Subsonic, it's 3-lane, but you can go straight through the middle, where you go straight to the aeroplane. You can go round the side, where there's destroyed rubble, or you can go around the pathway, where it goes all the way round to the other side of the map. And the same goes for Skyline. If you can either tackle through the middle, where you go up into the hotel, or you can jump underneath and go round the map through the pool, or you can go the other side, where the bomb is for search and destroy. And they play very similarly. The map's size is very similar, the aesthetic is different, but realistically the way you play it isn't. And that also applies to a place like Rewind. So for example, Rewind, yes, there's more open space, but you can still either go straight through the middle, which no one really does because it's too open, or you can go around the side, or you can go around the other side. And actually it plays very similar to a game like Nuketown, where you don't want to play the middle because you're blocked off by the bus and the truck. You either want to go round to where B is, or you want to go round to where the exploding car is. And I think this wouldn't be too much of an issue because the game is set in the Gulf War, so they want to have the maps play in a similar fashion. They want to get the maps to be aesthetically pleasing. For example, I think Subsonic and Skyline do that really well. But then that issue is then exacerbated and made much worse by the fact that then Black Ops 6 implemented Omni movement. So I think if these maps were implemented to a game like Cold War, it wouldn't be an issue. The movement was slower, so the maps being smaller wouldn't really be an issue. No one would really notice it because they can go through the map and it would take more time. So no one really noticed that the maps have a similar layout. In fact, in Cold War, some of the maps are very similar in layout and size. But in Black Ops 6, the Omni movement allows you to navigate around the map at almost twice the speed. You have default tack sprint, and then you can dive forward, backwards, or sideways. You can dive through windows, you can dive through glass and doors at a very quick speed. You can also remove yourself from fire at the same time. And because you can navigate it really quickly, it makes a map that already feels quite small even smaller because you're going from A to C really quickly. So that also includes maps like Jackpot and Barrage and Bounty. Even though all those maps are really different, one's set in a casino like Jackpot, one is set in a hotel like Bounty, and then the other one is set in like the trenches. You can navigate the map really, really quickly because there's not really much obstructions in the way. There's just different obstructions in the way. So in the end, if you add that up with all the movement and the size of the map being quite small, it means that going from point A to point C on a map like Barrage and point A to point B on a map like Subsonic feels really, really similar. It feels like you're tackling it at the same speed. It doesn't feel like the maps are any different. So obviously a lot of this feels like I'm moaning. A lot of it feels like, well, here I am just making the maps look bad. It's going to be a real issue. Black Ops 6 is really bad. Well, I do think there's actually a very simple solution to this. So I don't think having small maps in a game is bad. Everyone likes the Nuketown, the Shipment. Everyone likes maps like Rewind. The problem is there was just too many of them, and it was easier to navigate the maps because of Omni Movement. I believe Omni Movement needs to stay because it changes up the way you do the gunfights, it changes up the gunplay, but the maps need to change according to the Omni Movement, and I don't think Treyarch considered that. So what's the solution? The first is that you increase the size of normal base maps. So maps like Rewind and Subsonic, whatever the next game is, they make those maps naturally bigger to accommodate for Omni Movement, and you can see them kind of doing that in Black Ops 7 with the wall run. But I think if the next game that comes out isn't futuristic, they instead need to make the maps accommodate the Omni Movement. The Omni Movement specifically, not the Advanced Movement, because the Advanced Movement isn't going to stay, but Omni Movement probably will. And then, for the people that like small maps, I quite like small maps, what they need to do is do exactly what they did with the Face-Off Mosh Pit, and have all the maps that are really small in that Face-Off Mosh Pit, with no crossover, keep them completely exclusive. Then, when you go onto Call of Duty, if you want to play normal, larger maps in Call of Duty, large to medium-sized maps, have a little bit of Nuketowns in there, but realistically, you want it to be a Nuketown and a Subsonic and a Skyline, something where they're very similar. And then you want larger, bigger maps where you can snipe, use assault rifles, where SMGs aren't really accommodating for unless your skill's really good. That way, if you log on to Call of Duty, you can play normal, traditional Call of Duty that everyone is used to with the bigger maps. And then, if you want to play smaller maps to help with your camo challenges, or if you just are trying to get used to the game, then you can go straight into the smaller maps like Stakeout, like Gala, and that way you've split them off dividedly to where the players that want specific things get what they want. Also, I don't think they are entirely exclusive. So I like smaller maps, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to play large maps when I do sniping. So some people may go on, right, okay, I'm in the mood to be playing smaller maps, I'm going to go straight for the small map mosh pit. Or I'm in the mood to play larger maps, a bit more traditional, use assault rifles, therefore I'm going to go for the more traditional maps playlist that they have. That way you appease both players, but also the players that do both will still play Call of Duty. I don't think that they should make a playlist where it's all of them in, because you have the quick play filter where you could just select both the map selections. That way, if you want to play both, you can play both. If you want that brain rot style to get all your camos, you can use a small map mosh pit. If you just enjoy doing small map mosh pit, you can. And then, if you want to play traditional Call of Duty, you have that playlist. And I genuinely think that is the solution to this problem. On top of that, if they do that by making the maps just slightly bigger to accommodate Omni Movement, then I don't think that Call of Duty will have a map issue anymore. All they have to do is appease the people that want the small map, and then increase the base size, not by loads, but just increase the size of their base maps. But that's just my opinion, and I'd like to hear yours in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, and if you enjoy my opinions on Call of Duty, then I also made a video on what I believe the future of Call of Duty is going to be. See you in the next video.